Yo guys, what is up? It's Teach here, coming at you again with another video over on Ark Survival Ascended. And in this video, I'm going to show you a kind of start to a raiding series. And this is more for people to kind of help you figure out how to raid with different creatures, different strategies, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to show you in this video how to raid with Triceratops. Because in Ark Survival Ascended, it got way more difficult to raid with these things because they kind of changed how you have to go about it. And I'm going to walk you through everything you need to know from front to beginning. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to show you first off by going and trying to raid give you examples of situations and how you can use a trike, because not all situations will call for a trike. So in order to do that, I'm gonna have to leave my current tribe, and then let's go ahead and, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I'm gonna go ahead and leave the tribe. We're gonna make sure the tames are personal taming, and then creature ownership is personally owned. And then structure ownership is tribe owned, and then update. And then now we can leave that tribe and we will have turrets that we can kind of raid. So here's all of our creatures, right? So a Triceratops has a few things that you need to know about it. So the Triceratops is a very quick creature. They have right around a good Triceratops. Your goal is to get above 20,000 health. Once you have 20,000 health or more, you are able to use kind of like a little cheat code with the sweet vegetable cakes, because the sweet vegetable cakes heal for percentage health. Anything beneath 20,000 health, a sweet veggie cake will only heal for 500 health each time they eat it. So that's something you want to be very, very aware of. So have your trike be above 20,000 health. The other thing you want to start looking for is a trike saddle, right? So the higher your trike saddle, because they just improved the efficiency on official servers, the highest you can have is now saddle cap. I think it's like 120, right? So here's a 114, just so you can see the damage reduction. So the trike will get heals from a sweet vegetable cake, will take reduction with the saddle, right? So those are the first two main things we want to know. Now, the next thing that we want to focus on with the Triceratops is they can soak very, very well, but they can only do so from one angle. I'm going to go ahead and infinite stats this guy just so I can just soak for as long as we need so you can get an example out of it. And but they cannot soak from the left, right, or behind. They have to soak using their head. Now, just so you can see what I mean by that, so a normal turret shot is going to do right around 70 damage, okay? So once I am inside of this turret's range, it'll hopefully start shooting at me. And there it goes. So notice how with just the actual reduction, no, I guess it's not having the infinite stats on. Oh, well. But you can see that right now the trike is taking, so if a normal bullet from an auto turret does 70 damage, with the reduction in the head plus the actual saddle, and this is unimprinted, by the way, it takes about whatever 70 divided by 3 is. So it takes about 25 times less damage. So it's a huge damage reduction if we do it that way. Now, just to show you, there's 21 because of the saddle. So it's about 7 times less from the head plus the saddle differential. So it takes a lot less damage. So 21x less with the saddle plus the front shot from the head. So it's very easy to soak with the Triceratops. Now you'll notice how my character didn't get hit at all because these turrets are on players and tames. If turrets are on players and tames, it's always going to aim for the closer object, which is always going to be the Triceratops. However, it can be a little bit more difficult if they are on players only, because it's going to try and avoid the Triceratops and hit you, but it's going to do it based off a line of sight. So let's go ahead and show you what that looks like here, right? So this is a tech turret, a lot more damage, but notice how the splash damage the turret itself is only doing 12 damage to our Triceratops, which is a ridiculous reduction in damage. Now, that is kind of crazy considering that, I'm gonna go ahead and back up for a second here, right? Just to show you. So that's what it looks like on the back. So notice how there's splash damage to me. See how I took 57 damage per hit there? That is why tech turrets are so dangerous, because when they shoot you, just like that right there, they're going to blast off your clothes and hit your player as well. But with the Triceratops, if you're soaking from the front side, the actual Triceratops will take all of the damage. Now notice how it's taking that 12 damage per shot. That's pretty freaking huge, considering that a normal shot's going to do about 80. So cut that by, like, I don't know, what is it? It's like 6 or 7 times less damage. So yeah, as long as you're soaking from the front with a Triceratops, this thing will soak just about any base in the entire game as long as you're careful with it. And then the reason we have those veggie cakes on there is because once it consumes one of those, notice how that health starts flying upwards. It gets 500+%, and that is a pretty huge buff. So you can basically keep your Triceratops constantly healed. So as long as you're taking damage from the front of the Triceratops, that's what we're looking for. So yeah, let's go ahead and go on to this next turret, right? So this is a heavy turret. It's going to do 4 times exactly, a little over technically, the amount of damage that an auto turret is going to do. And again, as long as we are soaking from this back side, we are just fine. Now notice how it does way more damage if we aren't soaking from the front. So that's one thing you want to be very careful of, obviously. As soon as you start soaking from a different side, you want to back out and go back in at a different angle, because the Triceratops is just like every other creature if it's not soaking from its head, because the head takes the heavy reduced damage. All right, so that is what the 3 different types of attacks look like on a Triceratops, right? So now there's some other bonus things that we can do. So in order to reduce the damage even further, we can actually take another Triceratops with a mate boost on it. Let's go ahead and whistle that one to follow. And then we can also grab a T-Rex. Now what you want to do is you want to make sure you whistle these things to passive. And if these things are following us, there's a big reason for this. I'll show you why right here. Go ahead and get close-ish to, so we know the turret range is just about there to shoot us, right? Now what we're going to do is we're going to click unfollow. We're going to go ahead and go over here. And if you click unclaim on this T-Rex, unclaim T-Rex, it's going to further reduce the damage that your Triceratops takes. Plus the fact that we have the reduction in damage from the actual mate boost. So this is actually the best way to soak in the entire game as long as you're not using Carbonemus. Now, this will take such a heavy reduction. So we were taking, what, 14 a shot from the actual turret before these two were behind us. Now we're going to take even less. Now we've got a mate boost as well as the T-Rex behind us. Now we're taking 9 damage a shot. So we essentially just about cut it in half again. So a heavy turret, right, is taking 9 damage per hit from this. So that's pretty crazy, right? So this is technically the best way to soak in the entire game, because you get the reduction for having a large creature nearby plus a mate boost. This makes the Triceratops one of the hardest things to kill in the game. Now, obviously, it's not always perfectly ideal to be able to actually use a unclaimed Rex and a Triceratops. It's pretty much good for offline raiding. And we're going to go ahead and whistle follow on that guy, and then we'll whistle follow on the other Triceratops. And I'll show you what it looks like to actually try and raid something a little bit more realistic, more like a turret wall or a turret fob. Really? Okay, that Rex just about died. Doesn't matter too much. And so I have set up over here, there are, I think it's 7 tech turrets, as well as, like, give or take 6 or 7 heavy auto turrets as well. We're going to go ahead and bring these guys nice and close to us. We'll go ahead and unwhistle as well, and then we're going to go ahead and unclaim this guy. Options, unclaim. Now, situations where the actual Triceratops are really, really strong, right? Because that's what we're thinking about. It's not every creature situation that all bases are raidable by a Triceratops. This is raidable when turrets are low to the ground, because do you see, I'm going to go in K mode here. See how my character is kind of exposed over the top of its kind of, if you want to think about it this way, I am exposed over the top of this thing's head. If something can shoot over the top of the head, it'll shoot me off the back of that Triceratops. They actually removed it. You used to be able to look down, and it would prevent you from taking damage because you could actually have the whip out and it would give you a little bit of bonus. Now you can't look down. Your character kind of just like looks in different directions and stays the same height. So what you need to do is tilt the head down just a little bit of the Triceratops. Do you see how that raised it just ever so slightly? That gives you just a little bit of extra ability to not get shot off the back. And then what you want to do is find the range of the turrets. You're always going to want to go just inside of turret range and not actually go too far, because if you go too far, it starts shooting you from weird angles. You want to try and soak as few turrets as possible, so that way your trike can actually out heal what you're doing, and it just saves you a lot of time. So notice how we've got the mate buff, we've got the Rex behind us. Now on max range, most turrets will shoot right around 20 foundations. So just so you can see that lip, that higher up zone is where it's going to look. So we're going to go ahead and go nice and slow, and we're going to go ahead and try and tilt this down a little bit. See how there we go. So you have to rotate sometimes just a touch in order to prevent your trike from taking damage. So see how we're soaking a bunch of turrets at the same time and we're still only losing a small fraction of health? We can actually go ahead and pump a veggie cake, and it's going to offset a lot of that damage. So we are soaking 1, 2, 3, 4 tech turrets, and then probably my guess is 4-ish heavy auto turrets. And as long as we're only taking shots in the head from this guy, that's what we want. Because it's getting shot in the head, it's not taking the damage from getting shot in the legs or anything along those lines. And see how we're barely inside of turret range? That's our main goal, because the more you can soak smaller amounts, the more we can offset the damage we're taking. So see how right now it's only taking a tiny smidge of damage. Our goal is to keep this above, like, I don't know, probably a quarter-ish health, because we want to be able to heal this thing up pretty quickly. Now, because we're losing more health, then we're able to return with our veggie cakes. What you can do is you can start taking small steps back and aim to take a little bit less of the turrets. So see how I'm starting to back up here? Now I'm going to go ahead and go into K mode so you can see. All right, do you see how we're soaking 1 tech turret now and maybe 2 or 3 of the heavies? We should now be able to go to this and see that we're probably going to be able to offset. Yeah, we are. So now with this, we can actually out-heal the turrets that are shooting us. And because we're only taking this stuff to the actual head of the Triceratops, we are able to just sit here and soak without having to worry about anything. The heavy turrets, because they shoot 4 bullets per shot, are going to run out way faster than a tech turret. So if we can drain the heavies, one of the popular things to do would be to train the heavy turrets and then shoot rockets, because the tech turrets can't shoot rockets out of the sky. Now, the few things you want to be careful of, like I mentioned earlier, you can see that the actual head of the Triceratops is the thing that's taking damage. We're going to go ahead and back up a little bit here, right? So right around there is the distance for high turrets soaking, just so you can see the actual comparison. It's like right around, give or take, 21, 22 foundations. Now, sometimes seems to differ based off line of sight, height of things, and all those kinds of different factors. But yeah, that's kind of where the actual distance is. Now, notice how it will auto eat sweet veggie cake, but sometimes you have to kick the sweet veggie cake in there because it just takes a little bit too long to be comfortable. And it will pretty much heal as fast as it's given the opportunity to. So you can out heal quite a few turrets just by doing exactly what I said. Now, so that's situations where the trike is useful. Typically, people use Triceratops to raid caves, because caves can't have turrets up super high, so the Triceratops head can take all of the turret damage, and you can have someone like stand right here, because as long as they're behind the rider and behind the Triceratops, they won't take damage, and people will like speed push turrets and then throw C4 or rockets at them. Go ahead and destroy wild dinos here, because I don't want some random crap happening. So that is typically where Triceratops are useful. Triceratops are not useful when turrets are really high up, because they will shoot you off the side. Or if there are turrets to the left and right, you kind of want to have a straight on raid if you're using Triceratops, because when I walk forwards, I want to be able to soak whatever's directly in front of me. If the turret wall is super wide, Triceratops are not super great. If there's turrets up high, Triceratops are not super great, because you will get shot off the back. However, if you are like me and you like using all of the tames, the best ways to use the Triceratops are to push just a few turrets, or turrets that are on the ground. Because the stegos, because they changed how they work, only take or protect the rider from tech turrets if the stego is going backwards, and stegos can be picked up by Carcanos, which are now in the game. Triceratops cannot be picked up. So that is one thing that is pretty useful. Now, the Triceratops, obviously, you can be picked off of the back of a Triceratops, but you can't be picked off of a stego, so that's a little bit of a differential thing. But the Triceratops is really good if you have some people covering you for online raids, but if not, offline raiding when things are low to the ground or bunched up turrets, because the Triceratops takes the heaviest, minus the Carbonemus, which you can't ride anymore. You used to be able to ride them, turret damage in the game. So that is how you can use the Triceratops. Now, unfortunately, I'll show you what I mean. You used to be able to grab a whip, pick the whip out, and then look straight down. Unfortunately, they changed that. You can see my character just looks down now instead of actually anything else. So it's no longer that way. You used to be able to protect your body a little bit. So in order to compensate for that, you just look a little bit down with that Triceratops when you're holding still. And let's go ahead and remove this whip so I can show you what I mean. See how that head tilts just a little bit and gets a little bit extra protection? That is what you want to do. So you can do that, go into K mode, and then soak. So anyways, that is how you raid with the Triceratops in the situations where it would be useful. Hopefully this video helps you out. And other than that, teach out.